From near-death experiences to the devastation of homelessness, how and where do we find the will to overcome insurmountable odds? And when we do overcome these challenges, how do we pass that story of survival on to others? Life on the Rocks is that place where these stories are heard from those who live to tell them. And now, here is your host, Kyle Miller.
Welcome to today's show, where today's guests share how he completely failed at not one, not two, but 4 businesses. Ran out of money, didn't have enough money to pay for electric for a year, showering at the gym, using water bottles to have water to brush his teeth, all to become a leading expert in book writing, ghostwriting for individuals, entrepreneurs, and people who want to grow their followings and share their story with the world. Mike Fallat, welcome to Life on the Rocks, brother. So excited to have you on the show and hear this story of yours. I've been following you on social media and kind of followed your whole journey for the last, 2 years or so. I've noticed you. And so excited to have you on the show and talk about it.
Dude, thanks for having me. I see you're a patriot. You got the American flag in the background. I was just doing a Zoom interview with someone, so I put up the $1 million book sign. I took down my American flag for now, but when I get back into the inner circle calls, you're going to see that. So it's great to be here talking with you about life on the rocks, using your story as your competitive advantage, and then obviously looking at those dark times of your life and figuring out a way to make yourself better from it. So it's going to be an exciting show, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. I'm excited to hear this shit. So, tell me, who is Mike Fallat? Where did you start from? Tell me the story of how it all started, become an entrepreneur and to where you are right now.
Yeah. So who you see right now is very different than who I was, let's just say 2009 when it all began. Today, I'm a guy who loves starting businesses, has a few under his belt, is involved in many different aspects of the business world, whether it's real estate. I have a publishing company. We've published over 300 books. 269 bestsellers. It's a ghostwriting service. I get to interview entrepreneurs all over the world. Been, able to speak on some grand stages with some of my heroes. And it wasn't always like that. Going back to the very beginning, I was an entrepreneur at heart. I think I would classify myself as a wantrepreneur more than an entrepreneur. Yeah. And that means I wanted to be the business owner. I wanted to be successful. I just didn't have any wins. I didn't have the right direction. Nobody in my family was an entrepreneur. So I graduated from school and I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Have you read that?
High school?
So I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad after college. I was 22 years old.
Okay.
I was going to be joining the Navy. And if you want to take a step back, I was going to join the Navy, following my dad's footsteps, my grandfather's footsteps. And so I have this affinity for the military, and I was just built for some type of battle. But my employer at the time, who was this multi-millionaire, successful, this dude was into all kinds of businesses. He said, "Hey man, why don't you go to college and get a finance degree?" And since he was the only millionaire that I knew, he worked at, he owned the convenience store, he had real estate, but I worked at the gas station for him.
Okay.
And so he taught me a little bit about money while I was working there. He said, get a finance degree and you'll have any job anywhere, once you understand money. So at 22 years old, I graduate from school. He gives me Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And this is the same dude that got me on the path of going to college. He gives me Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that's whenever I'm like, wait a second, why did I go to school? What the hell? This is what I want to do.
It's just wasted 4 years of my life.
This doesn't make any sense. I guess he was protecting me in a way that I could always fall back on some type of degree to get a job. I started working for him. I got very interested in real estate. So I became my own real estate agent at 22, 23 years old. Bought my first 4-unit building. I thought I was super cocky because I was like, oh man, now I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm barely making any money. I'm a landlord at 23 years old. My tenants are taking advantage of me. I'm actually taking them to court because they're not paying me. So I got a little bit cocky and started 4 different businesses. They were all major failures, guys. And if you're out there and you're thinking, holy shit, man, I don't want to fail. You're going to fail, especially if you're going to try something totally outside of your comfort zone. You have no skill sets in that world. You're going to change the hierarchy. You're going to become a business owner when you really have no experience as an employee.
Yeah.
So I failed like a son of a gun. My family and my friends were all shaking their heads. And 3, 4, maybe even 5 years later, it's 2013, I started my fifth business. It was a direct-to-home dog product service, and it made some money. Finally, I created something from nothing, and it made money. People
Yeah.
started coming to me and asking, Mike, it looks like you know what you're doing with business. Can you help me start a business? And that's when I had the bright idea of putting a book together. Why don't I put down the simple ideas that made me successful in my fifth business that I didn't have in my first four businesses? So I jotted down some notes. The girl I was dating at the time helped me edit the book. I put it up on Amazon in 2015, became an Amazon bestseller, and my life was never the same. It changed the hierarchy overnight. And I thought I would get a lot of questions when it comes to business advice because I published that book. Turns out people were more curious about how did I write a book? I wasn't the guy that was known for creating books back then. But as soon as I put it out there, it got a lot of attention. And I started interviewing entrepreneurs all over the world to bring their stories to life. I would do the writing. I'd have the person that I was dating at the time edit the book. And then we have grown since then. Over time, ups and downs, a lot of dark moments. But the belief, the vision helped me hang on to this motorcycle, if you will, so we can get to the end. And since then, it's been one hell of an adventure, making the stories so much better as time goes on.
Wow. That's amazing. Right. So 4 different businesses that failed. I'm sure there are some times where you're just like, is this for me? What am I doing? What am I doing with my life?
Absolutely. There's a great story, and I don't know if you, I just put out a book. It's my 16th. It's called $1 Million Book. I talk about the moment in 2017. Right. So I'm off and running as a book publisher, and I'm getting a client maybe once a month, and that client is keeping me alive. But there was a time where I wasn't getting anybody to call me, and I almost lost my house. My water pipes broke because I couldn't heat the whole house. So I didn't have water. I didn't have sewage. Now, if you can imagine what you have to do when you have no water, no sewage for a year, just imagine that, guys. I don't want to have to explain it because it's pretty disgusting. But just imagine, all right, I'm going to the gym to shower. I have bottled water around so I could brush my teeth. And I remember kneeling down in front of a cross that I got from Rome when I was over in Rome, whenever 2005 for school. It was a study abroad semester. I was there when the Pope was blessing the crowd. It was his last time it was seen in the public. And it was Pope John Paul. He died not too long after that. Anyway, I had this cross. I put it up on the wall. I kneeled down. I said, God, am I supposed to be doing this book business? Please send me a sign. Like, I had nobody to turn to. This is when the girl left me. I was alone, friends, family. Nobody believed in me except probably my mom is probably the only person. She probably still didn't really believe in me. She was just, as long as you're happy, Mike, as long as you're happy. So I'm sitting there, I'm kneeling. I don't know what to do. I actually look like a complete fool because I'm putting it all on this book business. And I say, hey, send me a sign, please. I go to my parents to eat dinner that night. I get a phone call from an individual who said, I've been watching you for a very long time. I'm ready to do a book. Send me the invoice and I'll pay it tonight. So I sent him the invoice. He gave me $2,000. It allowed me to keep my house, keep the electric bill on. And that was my sign that I have to stay at
that's
the
amazing.
book business.
That's amazing. And that's the other thing that I think we attract stuff in our lives. I truly believe that we're balls of energy, and what we put out there and what we desire is what comes back. And so there's too many people out there that are thinking all these bad thoughts. Well, this is going to go bad and this is going to go bad. And yeah, things may be going bad, but it's only setting you up for the next thing, right? He's only giving you that test to make sure that you're committed and this is what you really want to do, right? And just for you to say, hey, ask, they say ask and you shall receive. You asked, right? This is what I need. Am I supposed to be doing this? Show me a sign. And boom, there it was.
Yep. You have to knock in order to have the door open. You have to. It's just a rule. It's part of the Bible. If you guys are into that, it is something that a lot of people stay away from. They think that the opportunities are going to come to them because they want it.
Yeah.
Absolutely no way is that possible. You have to put yourself out there. The origin of the word character comes from Greek word, and character in the Greek etymology means chisel. So in order to build character, you have to be chiseled into that person. So you have to be tested. You have to fail. You have to see what's important to you to stay at it long enough to be chiseled into the person that you need to become in order to get what you really want to get.
I love that. There's so many times I look back on my life, and I was just sharing it with you a minute ago. Like, I'm wanting to grow the business. I'm wanting to get more deals and do more real estate deals and flip more houses and just do more. And then I get thrown sidebar here that one of my lead construction guys gets picked up and is in jail for like his next June 16th. So I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? That's when his court date is. And that's when they're going to let him out. And this has been going on for 3 weeks already. And so it's like, hey, this is a blessing. This is what's going to allow us to grow, because this is forcing us to go out and find the other guys, to find the other people that can help. And right when that happened, I was like, boom, now I'm on the phone. Hey, I need this. I need this. Do you know this? Who can help me? Boom, boom. And I'm just asking who can help me do this stuff. And it just spread. Hey, here's a contractor. Here's a contractor. Here's another guy over here that can help. Boom, boom. And now all this abundance of contractors are now sitting in my lap. And now all my projects are rolling. We had like a 2-week window where it was kind of like, oh shit. But now they're all rolling. They're getting done on time. And it's amazing. And it's like, boom. Now when he comes back and he gets all his stuff fixed and we're going to be able to do more. And it's just those constant battles. Like, are you ready for this? Are you ready? Is this what you really want? Okay, I'm going to throw you a curveball here. Let's see what you're going to do with it.
Yeah.
And let's see how you take that and take it into the life and make something out of it.
It all comes down to perspective, right? I mean, some people would look at that situation and say, I'm not supposed to do this. Oh, this is God's way of saying I'm not meant to do this business. You look at it and say, okay, this might be the greatest thing that ever could have happened to this business, because it's going to force me to find new people. It's going to force me to put a little bit more energy and attention to this. And now I'm able to put myself in different rooms that never would have happened if that never happened. So perspective, right? Is this something that's in us, or is this something that we train ourselves over time? What do you think?
I think, no, it's something that I think we have to train ourselves, because automatically it's the fight or flight. It's the trying to be protected, trying to make sure that we don't get out there too far, put ourselves out there and get hurt. Right. I kind of think that. And so like in our minds, we go, ooh, let me pull back a little bit, when instead we should be taking that step forward, going, okay, here it is. Let's go. This is life.
Well, are you a Jordan Peterson fan?
I do like Jordan Peterson, yes.
He says how the human being is built for discomfort and built for struggle. And I think about the time when I was a corporate employee and I was with my coworkers and I hated my life. I seriously hated my life. I talk about the mirror test. When you walk out that door and you look at the mirror one last time, you can see if you're happy with your life or not. And one day I remember taking a picture with my coworkers. And I saw the picture right away, and I'm like, man, if I saw me and didn't know who I was, I would look at that guy and say he's miserable, he's weak, he's insecure. And it was this domesticated cat. Like I was this animal who I had all this fire in me and all this love for the adventure. And I'm working at this corporation. It just showed something about myself that I was like, that is not who I want to be known for. So I need to be put into the jungle. I need to be put through struggle to build the muscles, mental muscles, physical muscles, spiritual muscles, so I could fight my way through it. And that's when I realized, like, I know that this is the easy path, but I want discomfort to prove myself to the world, to prove myself to the market and to myself. So I think a lot of people stay away from that discomfort. I realize I want to run towards it, because on the other side of discomfort is clarity. To me, clarity equals freedom. If you can pay money to become more clear tomorrow than today, pay the money, because those actions that you take from that clarity will produce dividends for life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I learned that lesson when I was playing sports. And I think playing team sports, going through and trying to set goals and trying to hit goals in that aspect. I played college football at a small D2 school in West Virginia. And I just remember, now even before that, but it really solidified in college, where it was kind of like, okay, I wanted to be on the defensive backs in the weight room, right? We had a board, right, that said, hey, here's the top guys that could lift, like bench press, squat. They had all of them, power cleans, all of it up there on the board. And I was like, I want that squat record. And when I was in there, my freshman year, I looked at that board and I said, I'm going to have that squat record when I leave here. And so I would go in and I would just demolish my legs every single time we go in there. And it was so painful. It hurt all the time. I'd limp for 3 days, like with crutches almost. It'd be like, I would just completely obliterate them. But by the time I was done, my senior year, I broke the record because each year the guys would keep bumping it up. And I broke the record my senior year. And I was on top of that board when I squatted 500 pounds 6 times. And I was like, thank you. Like I finally, like that put the hard work, the dedication, the getting in there, the hurt, the desire of wanting something, then accomplishing. And then it's like, bam, yes, I did it. Yes, finally, and that gave you a sense of accomplishment. There was nobody else rooting for me to go get that. It was for me wanting something, and then I accomplished it. So that was the first time I really was like, bam, this is really, really cool, and really like to go after stuff. There was one other story that I learned in college on the football field. It was my junior year, and we had to take a bus to our practice facility my junior year. And it was spring training, spring ball, right? And so I'm sitting in the bus and I hate it because now I'm getting ready to go into my senior year. I've been doing this for 4 years. It's like monotony. It's just practice. We don't get to play. It's not fun. It's hard work. But as I'm sitting in the bus, I'm moping, man. I am like, man, why do I got to be here? This fucking sucks. Like, this is such bullshit. Like, those are the things I was telling myself. And on that bus ride, now this has been going on for a couple days, right? And on this bus ride, I'm getting back on the bus. I throw my shoulder pads on. I'm going to sit down and I'm waiting. It's a 10-minute ride. It's not very far. And I'm waiting, and I'm sitting there going, Kyle, why are you thinking like this? Why are you having these thoughts? I said, you're 20 years old, 19 years, whatever it was, 19, 20 years old. You're playing college football. You don't have to pay a fucking tuition payment. You got all your shit paid for. You could be sitting at home digging a ditch. You could be out mowing lawn. You could be just doing like everyday life shit. But here you are. You got 53 guys sitting here at practice. Actually, it's more in spring. So you got over 53 guys on the practice field. Like, why are you moping around? Go out and have some fun. Change your attitude. Change your emotions that you're having about this whole thing. It's going to completely change. So I got off the bus and I was like, all right, Kyle, come on. And I just ran down the field, like through the middle of the field. Everybody's kind of like doing their like warm-ups and shit, throwing the ball, going back and forth, cutting up a little bit. And I just run down through the middle of the field, acting like a wild man, screaming at the top of my lungs, trying to change the emotions that are in my body. And I run down there and they're like, Kyle, what the fuck's wrong with you, man? And I'm like, man, I just got to do something. I got to be better. And then from then on, I ran everywhere. I tried to make everything a game. I tried to make everything fun. I was joking with people, but I was working my tail off, and it completely changed my mindset on this whole thing. And I had the best spring ball that I've ever had in my life. And it really, I look back on situations like that in my life now where I'm able to take that and go, shit, I'm in the same situation. Change it. Boom. We can move it. Let's go.
You need to have fun, right? You need to be in play mode, right? Yeah. These people out there who think that writing a book is supposed to be painful. It needs to feel like you're in a state of play. And you go back to even the flow state that people fall into whenever time disappears and they feel like they're doing something that they're meant to do. If you can orchestrate or manufacture these flow states, the only way you do that is whenever it doesn't feel like work. And so you tricked your mind almost into turning any type of practice or game into just playing.
Yeah.
People who play usually just do without thinking.
Yeah.
And it seems like you figured that out. That's awesome.
It was, and I run into that situation at different times in my life and I can feel it, and you get into that, no, we got to change that. We got to flip the switch because we can't stay here. There's something better on the other side of this.
There's a saying that the gut is faster than the brain, right? So like if you can trust your gut instincts, like something's wrong, I got to fix it. Okay, I got to do something and implement it right away. You're going to save time. You're going to increase your speed. You're going to increase momentum. So realizing something's wrong internally, like in your gut, and then making that shift Some people have that characteristic, some people don't. And I think the most successful, especially since I get to interview a lot of entrepreneurs, they have strong gut instincts. Sounds like you do too.
Every time like bad shit's happened, I go back and I go, you know what? I knew I shouldn't have done that. My mind was saying, yeah, we can do this. But my gut was like, back off. Like, don't do that. This is not probably the best thing. Right. And I learned that first lesson at 20, 26, 27. And I didn't realize the lesson until I was 30, that I should have listened to my gut at 26. But at 30, I found out it was right. And so now I'm always like very aware of going, okay, this is where we're at. Nope, not going to do that.
You need to do this or you don't need to do this. Case in point, 2017, that's probably the time where I confronted my shadow. I always bring this up. Carl Jung says that there's a shadow inside of every man. In the movie Fight Club, they kind of emphasize the shadow. When a man gets weakened by society, there's still a part of them that just gets buried or they try to remove it from that person, but you can never completely remove it. And only in your darkest moments or when there's true struggles, when you confront it. And when you can confront it and control it, that's whenever you know yourself all the way. So I think in 2017, I'm in my darkest moment. And I got a call from a guy named Anthony Lawley. So if you guys look him up, he has a company called Radical Body Transformations. But at the time, he owned a company called Rapid Realty, a very big company in New York City. And he helps people start franchises when it comes to real estate. Very big name. Called me up. He said, looks like you know how to do the bestseller trick. Can you help me become a bestseller? And I was in a moment of total despair, total struggle. And I said, you know what? I'll do it for you. I'm not even going to charge you any money. And it was in that moment where I had this gut instinct. I said, I had to prove myself to the market.
Mm-hmm.
I have to prove myself to other people before I even think about what I need. I need to show. It's like what Jim Rohn says, give the market your seed, not your need. And the moment I was able to prove myself to him, he set me on a path to talking to other high-level entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And he produced a lot of clients on the back end. So me not thinking about myself, my own struggle, and only being of service changed the direction of my life. And it was that gut instinct of saying, I need to do this. I can't think about money. Even though my bills need to be paid, I can't worry about me. I have to worry about someone else. And I'm telling you, I apply that to this, to my life to this day. And it's a game changer for sure.
So this book, what's going on with this book? Tell me a little bit more about this thing.
Yeah. So if you guys are familiar with my company, we do everything when it comes to the interview, the ghostwriting, the cover design, the bestseller status. More so than that, though, I want to show people how to generate money, generate wealth with their book, even if they don't sell it after it becomes a bestseller. So this book outlines everything that I talk about with my clients in much more great detail, of course, because this is, 33,000 words, probably takes about 2 hours to read, but it outlines my entire philosophy. Why does ghostwriting work? It works because of the Socratic method. Why is it important to pay for it? Because you can actually focus on your revenue producing activities and you can outsource your non-revenue producing activities, such as the writing.
Yeah.
There's a book out there called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan.
Yep.
And I believe it's Dr. Benjamin Hardy. If you look into that, most successful people apply these rules of let me figure out who and not really worry about the how. And if you look back at the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, how it all began, why did I think ghostwriting was an important piece to success in an entrepreneur's life? It's because Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the book that changed my life. I thought, and maybe I'll even ask you this, who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
I don't know. Now that you're bringing it up, I don't know. I know where you're going, but I don't know who wrote it.
Everybody thinks it's Robert Kiyosaki.
Right.
That makes sense, right? Well, Robert Kiyosaki's the brand builder. He's the person who puts together the message. He's building the board games. He's the one that's out there buying real estate. The last thing he's probably going to do is sit down and spend 200 hours writing a book because it's just not a direct revenue producing activity.
Right.
So he outsourced it to a woman named Sharon Lechter. Sharon Lecter's a brilliant writer. She's involved with some of the Napoleon Hill Foundation books.
Okay.
Just incredible. So she's the one that brought it to life. And once you realize that the most successful out there are doing it, well, all I need to do is become the who for someone's how. and make it easy for the everyday entrepreneur to do the exact same thing.
Right.
Your lessons, your stories brought to life professionally in a short amount of time so you can use it properly and create your own events, your own podcast, your own courses, your own memberships, your own apparel, and that's where you make your money. It's like a rock into the river where you can create ripple after ripple as long as you keep throwing those rocks.
Right.
But if you're trying to build the rock, you're going to fail.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, that's awesome, man. I'm sure. How many books have you written for people?
Yeah, so our team, over 300.
Oh, wow.
We're going for our 270th bestseller this Friday with a guy named Mike Mack, M-A-K. Great dude. He helps people start cleaning businesses. So I get to interview entrepreneurs in every different industry. Just imagine financial services, real estate. I was just speaking at a gym expo. They help people build gyms. It's amazing where you go. You find out that we're all kind of saying the same stuff, but what makes us different is the story behind the lesson. And, you heard a few stories of my life, the struggle.
Yeah.
People try to stay away from struggle. Ground zero moments are the greatest teachers we could ever hope for. So, the story is what makes the man or the woman.
And I think a lot of people also think that it's the destination, right? And I look back on, I liked having my name on that board just for that one time, but and I could never look at it again. Like, I don't go back to school and see my name up there. I don't even know if anybody broke it, but I know that journey that I had to go through and like put the work into to accomplish that goal, that was more fulfilling than just seeing the name up there,
Wow.
because it was the growth throughout the time. Oh, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do this. If you strip all that away and I just put the name up there, it wouldn't mean as much. And I think a lot of people going through this, they don't embrace that struggle. And I hear this all the time. When I make $100,000 a year, when I make $500,000 a year, when I make $1 million a year, my life is going to be better. No, your life doesn't change because you are who you are. And if you're not changing within that, you're not going to be the best version of yourself, right? You're not going to be satisfied.
All we are is just a couple synapses in our brain, like, different parts of our brain that light up. All right. And so if you hit a goal, it's not like it stays lit forever.
Right.
You need to keep feeding it. And the only way you keep feeding it is with new adventure, new stories. Tony Robbins always says the human being feels most alive when they are doing one of two things, growing or giving. All right. So if you're growing as a person constantly, it's firing those parts of your brain, keeping it lit up. But if you stop growing, you start to shrink. If you stop giving, you start to shrink. You know what I mean? Like, you realize that your life is not just your life. You could be of value. You could be of service to other people. And so those people who buy the Lamborghini or get on that beach and it's like, I got it. Okay, so why is this not keeping me happy?
Right.
There's a reason for it. It's because it lit it up, but it starts to shrivel up. And so you need to keep feeding that. And yes, a car and all that is super nice. I bought my dream car a year and a half ago, a 69 Mustang, and it's amazing. But I've dreamt about that car since I was 7 years old. And you are absolutely right. When you get it, you're like, I got it. And when I walk by it, I still think of it. But it's not the end all be all, because I want to keep growing. I want to keep hitting new metrics. I want to be a new person tomorrow than I am today. There's a great philosophical thought that you have to kill off the version you are today to become the next version.
Yep.
And that transformation is exciting. Like, who will I become tomorrow?
Yeah.
What will I learn? Who will I be around? And I think that is the journey. You have to love it.
Absolutely. I love it, man. I do want to know this though, real quick. Those 4 different businesses, what were they?
Yeah. So it was a data and analytics company.
Uh-huh.
It was a rewards program. It was an events company and an entertainment company.
Gotcha.
So like different dances or different ski trips.
Uh-huh.
The rewards program was connected like pizza shops together.
Okay.
So if you shop at this pizza shop, you'd get money back on this rewards card that you could save money on this coffee shop.
Okay.
So I connect. And then there was also a data and an analytics company. I was obsessed with trying to be the next Steve Jobs in 2009. So I wanted data.
Right.
Nowadays, I realize how important data is with books. Once you realize that they're interested in this book,
Right.
you could provide more solutions for them, more organizations, more apparel, more ideas. But back in the day, I was just, hey, let me create the new Apple. That's a dumb way of thinking. I was not thinking about the customer. I was thinking about myself being great, Yeah. And that's when you create bad ideas. So I had all these thoughts, just couldn't put it all together because I do believe I was thinking of myself more than anybody else. And that's sad.
It's always kind of, you hear these entrepreneurs and you kind of hear entrepreneurs, right? You hear like these ideas that they want to do, but then it's like, it's all about them. It's not really helping anybody. It's like, well, this is what I want. And this is what I want. Well, what do your customers want? What do they want?
Without them, you are back working for someone else.
Exactly.
If you're not solving someone else's problem, you're not going to be around for a very long time. So I thought to myself, what would I do? All right. Would I sit down and write my next book? Absolutely no way. I would do the editing and the fine tuning. With this book and specifically, I'll tell you, I saved about 110 hours worth of my time by outsourcing it to a writer. I would do an interview with myself, basically. My writer would write it, and then I would go through it and fine tune it to my liking, add in stories I forgot to say, take out what I didn't like. It's about saving time. So that was a major problem in my life. And I thought, if I would pay for it, I know for sure other people would pay for it.
Yeah.
If I could save someone else time, then you have something.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it, Mike. I appreciate it, man. How do people find you? How do they get a hold of you? How do they find you? How do they connect with you more?
Yeah, so Instagram's probably the greatest snapshot of who I am. It's a great resume. If you want to see who I am as a person, go to @thedreamstarter. That's my best Instagram. I have two, which is @$1,000,000bookpro, which is my other one. I'm not as political on that one because that one is sort of just all books. But @thedreamstarter, if you're looking to know a little bit about me as a person, it's probably the best way. Also, you can go to my website, dreamstarterspublishing.com, see a bunch of our books, see how we do things. If you're looking to get a book created, used properly, you go through that system. We could do a Zoom call. I can answer any questions that you might have. And then if you want to check out the book itself, which is $1 Million Book, you can go to $1,000,000bookpro.com. And within the next 2 weeks or so, you're going to have the ability to get it for free on there. So take a look at that. And I'd love to be of service. So let me know if there's any way I can help.
Man, that's awesome, Mike. Hey, dude, your story is pretty cool. I like it. It's going through that stuff. And it's pretty interesting. I think everybody's going to like that one too.
Well, Kyle, I will tell you this episode and this podcast is all about life on the rocks. All of the most successful, the people I admire, the ones I get to interview, they all had these life on the rocks moments. And I think it's just like their advantage. So if you're out there and you're going through something that's difficult or you do face it, figure out a way to use it, to connect with other people, to use it as fuel to just become a better version. Because once I realized that in the most successful, I'm not afraid of life on the rock moments. I almost look at them as tests. And if you can pass the test, then you can get the glory.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, brother.
Thanks for having me, man.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.